Welcome to Cheapy Joe Workshop. In the Wild West, they say every object has a story, and Cheapy Joe found someone to change his. A dusty old cow skull, which, I swear, looked at me as if to say, I hope this guy with his arsenal of cheap tools gives me a proper makeover, or I'll haunt his workshop forever.
Yaddy! Today, Cheapy Joe and I are giving an old cow skull a makeover.
Yeah, that's me. And I want Navajo style, a wooden base, and most importantly, something that looks amazing.
Okay, but you have to be able to stand brushes and paint. I hope you're not allergic.
As long as I end up looking better than an Indian ready for a powwow, that's fine with me.
Okay, let's get to work, Cheapy Joe.
Materials needed. An old cow skull because a hamster skull would be less impressive. Paint and brushes to transform from old relic to star of the living room. A wooden base to give this pile of bones a royal throne. Navajo motifs, so the skull has more style than you do on Sundays when you go to church. Glue and screws, so the skull doesn't run away when your back is turned. A cowboy, mandatory for ambiance. Lots of imagination, because even the best paintbrush is no substitute for a good idea. Optional, a fan to mimic the desert wind, and a plastic cactus for decoration. A coyote is not recommended.
Cheapy Joe, thank you for inviting me onto your show to be your assistant and helper from now on. Uncle Howard is also very honored to be your personal commentator.
Before I show you how I transformed an old cow skull into a piece of art that would make any Indian jealous, I'd like to say a big thank you to Big Louie, my new right-hand man, and incidentally, the one who carries the heavy stuff while I pretend to think. And of course, a special shout out to Howard, my personal commentator, the only man who can seriously describe the color of my paint, even when it's fluorescent yellow. Guys, without you, this video would have been half as funny and 3 times as tiring.
Thank you, Cheapy Joe. We are very happy to be part of your show.
And me? Have you forgotten me? No right to a thank you?
That's really cool. We found one online. It sells for $73, huh? That isn't what we paid for, but that's what it sells for, and it has some little dress on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it Native American. I started with my piece of wood, huh? I'm going to dress it up either Native American or country style. I haven't decided on which way to go yet, but we wanted you to see where we're starting out at and how it ends up. So thanks for coming by, and stay tuned, because guess what? We're going to build a decorative bullhead Native American skull.
So what do you think of this plan, Cheapy Joe?
Okay, so we got a plan. And speaking of plans, I want to tell you that when I'm working, I always make a set of plans for everything I'm doing, and I keep them. And if I ever want to make the same project again, I have directions in which to go. So, in one of my plans that I had made this design, and I really like this design. Okay, here's a couple of other prints that I made along the way. I show you when I'm working what I do. And I would suggest that you do the same, okay? Like I said, if you want to make another, whatever you're working on, redo it again, all you gotta do is open it up. You have all your measurements ready for you. So speaking of plans, here's the plans that I have for this one. All right, so I decided when I was making this, and it's much easier to get an eraser and erase it on paper as it is opposed to trying to throw it to cut a piece of wood or throw it away. I hate wasting wood. So in the original idea, I thought we'd have four pieces of wood. But after I got it looking at it, 4 was too many, so we cut it down to 3. Our first big piece of wood is 46.5 by 10. Our second is 36, all right, by 10 or by 4.5, and I have 2 of them. So I cut my wood, all right. I cut my 3 pieces of wood, all right. So I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go to the router table, all right. Now, the way that I do this, the way that I'm going to show you this, so that there's no confusion in how we do this, and I don't want to talk forever about it, but I want you to see how I do it. So when I'm ready to make my surface treatments, all right, this is a surface treatment. These here are surface treatments. These here are edge treatments. All right. I used a chamfer on the edges all the way around on all 3 pieces. Okay. Then on my smaller pieces, I put 2 surface treatments for my inlay, because I'm going to put inlay on this. Now, when I did this, I set it up so it'd be at 1.5 millimeters from this edge to the outside edge of this. All right, and then I did it. I milled it. Then all I had to do is flip it over and do the other side, because they're both the same distance. I did the same on this one. It's 1.5 as well. All right. Now when I did the middle surface treatment, because what I want to do with this is I want to take a larger piece of wood, but I want to cut it in pieces, and I want to paint them different colors, red, white, turquoise, and decorate this piece of wood like that. All right. So if you look at this, all right, what I did was I found the center from the edge of the first surface treatment, and I drew a line, and I did the same with the other. All right, so now I have my marks to follow on my router table. Now on my router table, what I do is I take and you want to step around this way and you can come see over here. What I do is, now there's different ways to do this. You can 50, 60 different ways to do this, but what I do is I just follow the lines that I have, okay? And then for my height, to set my height, what I do is I use the inlay that I'm going to use, okay? And I set it to the same height as that. Now you can use a gauge, you can measure it however you want to do it, but you end up with the same result, and this works the quickest and the fastest for me. So now I have my height set for my surface treatment. I set it up, get ready to cut. Now I always use feather boards, all right? Now, one of the hardest, well, one of the most difficult things that I had to do was how to be able to square this off, all right, to the table, all right. This is an old saw that I built this router table out of, and the way that I square this up, and I'll put that down. The way that I square this up is I use my miter gauge, all right, and I just run it up against my fence. And as you can see, it's nice and square. So when I cut it, when I put my surface treatment on my piece of wood, all right, it'll be square to the piece of wood. All right, so this measurement from this end to that end, this way, will be exactly the same measurement. All right, here is the router that I used to do the edge treatment. Okay, it's a 45-degree chamfer. All right. Now when I cut this, and I've already got a cut, I'm not going to cut it, but what I do is I use a feather board. Okay, and the feather board, what it does is it doesn't allow the piece of wood to fly back off the table. That's happened before, and I mean it shot it clear across the room, and it'll put the fear of God in you, because I'm telling you what, if that would have smacked me in the face or my wife in the face, we'd have gotten hurt very seriously. So the only thing you have to do is turn it on and cut your surface treatment. Now, I got my 3 pieces of wood. If we step back over here real quick, we'll lay out our design on how we want to do this. We got our middle board. We have our middle board. We have our top board. And we have our bottom board. Now if you look at that, it's the same exact design almost, except for I did angle the edges, okay, on the end. This was actually the top of a decorative box that I made, and I like that design. So now, all we have to do is when we put our bullhead on top of it, we're going to get something that looks like this. Now we're going to paint the bullhead. We're gonna put our inlay in, and we're gonna burn the wood. So that's all we have to do with this, and I'll get started on that and be right back.
Hey, Cheapy Joe, are you sure this is gonna hold? Because if I fall, you're the one picking up my teeth.
You said red? Wait a second. I'm looking for...
Okay, so my wife, after we reviewed the video from the last one, my wife said, you know what? You had a red piece of tape on your finger. What was that for? And I told her it was a finger jig. She wanted to know what a finger jig was. Come on over here. And I told her the way that it works is when I'm using the router, I don't want to cut past the end of the tape. I don't want to run my finger, so it's my finger jig. Okay, thanks Uncle Howard for that commentary. By the way, that's Uncle Howard. He was out of work, and he asked me if I could help him a little bit financially, and I said, hey, why don't you just come on over and I'll give you a job. So that's our announcer. That's old Uncle Howard. So come on in, and we finally got our project done. Come take a look. Now I'd like to say a few things before we actually show you the product or the project. It was really a lot of fun, huh? We got to use all our elements, all our talents. We got to paint, we got to burn wood, we got to draw, we got all kinds of stuff. We got to use our router, we got to burn wood, paint wood. So if you're looking for a project where you can use all your talents, this would be something along those lines. If you're a chop kind of guy and you want to get things done, this is definitely not the project for you, because it's very, very labor intensive. It's very detailed, and but it's a lot of fun. So why don't you come around here, swing around. On the number 3, we're going to turn you around, and you're going to see our project. Number 1, 2, and 3. Lo and behold, we are introducing to you Mojave, live from the Studio 1 here at Cheapy Joe's workshop, our project. Now, we're going to explain to you how we did this. So the first thing we did is we got our bullhead, and we had to find a design to put on the head itself. So I had my wife go online, and this is the kind of outline of the design that I wanted to use. And what we did was we took a pencil and we drew it on our bullhead. Then I took this here. This is it's a calligraphy marker, and I used this to draw the original outline. You can see the gray before I painted it, and I went all the way around and I did all the outline with it, and then I went in and I started to paint it. Now what I should have done, but I didn't do, is I should have started out with some paint, okay, with some regular paint, but the paint that I have is black paint, okay, is black, and it's a lacquer. It's not an acrylic, and it's very user unfriendly. So if you make a mistake, you got a mess on your hands. So what I did is when I started my painting, I went in and I started painting, is I used an acrylic paint, and it's like almost like a watercolor. And my wife used to use it in her paintings. And so I went in and I tippy-toed in, and a couple of colors, and I used this. Then I went in and I painted it up, and I let it dry. After I dried it and I looked at it, I really decided that I didn't like the outline in this pen. So I went back and I got the lacquer paint, crossed my fingers, and I went in and I highlighted the rest of it and painted it. And after it dried, I went in with an acrylic varnish type of stuff, and I put on the top of it so it couldn't go anywhere. The next thing I did is I used the same paint, and I painted the eyes and where the mouth was at, so it would stand out a little bit. The next thing I did is I went downstairs and I found a couple of my wife's candles, and they had fur on them. And I thought, hey, we'll use that for our horns, to dress our horns up. So we put leather behind the fur, and then we glued the fur to the leather, and then we started working on the feathers. Now the way that we did the feathers was this. Now each one of them is done individually. And what I did is I went downstairs, tippy-toed down, and I found one of my wife's dream catchers that happened to have a bunch of nice feathers on it. So I talked her into letting me have a couple of them. All right, I didn't say a couple dozen or a couple hundred, but I took quite a few of them, because our dream catcher now is looking a little. So we got that taken care of. We put the leather, the the feathers that were on there, what I did was I pulled a little fur off, or a little feather off of it, and then I wrapped each one of them individually with some thread. If you look at them very closely, I have one color, solid color here. Over here I have a red and a white. Here I have a red and a blue. And then I wrapped each one of them individually, and then I started on my dress with my beads. So the beads that I found, once again, my wife has a bunch of stuff that's just kind of hanging around there, and I used it. So here's these beads that I used. Now if you look at them, they look kind of a little bit like glass, but they're not. Okay, because they had a really small hole, and I said there's no way I'm going to get that piece of leather to go in that hole, so I drilled them out a little bit. All right, and it's actually a plastic with a really pretty paint. All right, so I had to drill them out to get the leather to go through them. Then I used my other beads that I have to finish out the dress on the feathers. I attached the feathers to the horns, and we had now our bullhead completed. Now, somebody told me this, and I don't know where I heard it, but when the Indians, they create an artwork, whatever the number is, it's always an odd number, a 1, 3, 5, 7, or 9. They never use an even number of anything. So if you look at everything that's on this bullhead, it's all an odd number to keep along with that tradition of the Navajo Indian, okay? Because that's where the design comes from. It's actually a Navajo design. After we got our background, our wood done, okay, I had all the pieces cut to do the whole thing in it. But after we put it all together and I laid it all out, I decided it was a little too much wood, okay, a little too in your face kind of design, so we removed that. Now if you look at the top here, I actually did an inlay. I was going to put inlay all the way around it, but I decided not to do that either. And I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll just paint it black to match the rest of the inlay marks that I had. This here took me the most time, simply because in order to put paint in this in this wood, I had to actually mask both sides of the wood so I wouldn't get paint on it. And then I had to paint one side, the other side, and the middle as well. Then I had to go around the edges and do the same thing. That was the most time consuming and the most frustrating for me, is because I had so much masking to do. Now, on the background, we had these here, and what we did is we put a Navajo design on them as well. One of the things that I learned when I'm burning wood, and you burn on painted wood, it actually bleeds, okay? It makes the wood change its color, and it kind of turned, if you look real close, you can see where it looks just a little green. So I had to go back in and repaint all the background for this Navajo design, okay? And then what I did was, after that, I went in and I had another project that I did, and I actually used these for the feet. They were blocks of wood, and I thought, hey, that would probably look pretty good on that Indian bullhead. So I took them and I put Navajo designs on them as well. So I got to use my wood burner, okay, when I did that. Which brings me to the next thing, our tips and tricks for today. Okay, so woodworking can take a lot of avenues. You can talk about wood burning, sculpting, painting, signs, designs. It's whatever you can imagine you can do with wood. So here's our tips for today. Me and my wife, we ventured off into wood burning. And when we started off into wood burning, we bought us a wood burner. Okay, we paid $9 for it at Action. All right. Well, I'm here to tell you, here is my tip for today, all right? These are absolutely junk, okay? What they do is they screw onto the end of the end, and look at this, how small this is, okay? And this little iron gets hotter than you can imagine. So when this heats up, it becomes very weak, and it breaks or bends or strips out the threads, and you can't use it anymore. So what you have to do is you have to throw it in the trash. Okay? Me and my wife, this is the third one that we went through. Okay? So we spent $27 to figure out that this isn't the one that we wanted. Now we had looked at a professional wood burning set, but being Cheapy Joe, doing it all wrong, I chose to just try and buy another one. Well, when the last one, I said, you know what? We're beating ourselves to death because we weren't getting the burn that we wanted. We weren't getting the stuff that we wanted to do. Now, one of the things I want to venture into is wood carving and wood burning and inlay. Now, this is a very rough cut. All right, it's like I'm just trying to play around, but you can see if you actually got really good at that, that would be very, very beautiful. Now, here's one of the first pictures, or one of the first pieces, not the first piece, but one of the pieces that my wife made. I love that. That's absolutely my favorite. It's a little mouse with some cheese and some wine and some grapes on the top. It's on a, what we call the Lazy Susan, and you put your cheese or your hors d'oeuvres or whatever and serve your guests at your house with this, and it's actually very, very nice. It's very cute. We did a lot of this stuff, and it was really a lot of fun. Well, after we figured out that this here belongs in the trash, okay, we bought one of these. All right, and we spent I think we spent $49 on it. Right? It was the best investment that we ever made, and we kind of kicked ourselves because we didn't do it sooner. We'd have been $27 richer. Now, it has 2 irons on it, okay? And what we were thinking is we thought that she could hold one and I could have one, and we could burn together. But you can only have 1 iron on at a time, all right? So this is basically so you can set 1 tip in one and 1 tip in the other, and you switch back and forth between the 2 guns, all right? And you don't have to stop and unscrew and put new tips. Now it comes with, I think there's 30 some odd tips, 36 some tips in it with a little screwdriver that you can change. Now the nice thing about these is, guess what? It's not like the other one. They have screws. And these here are made, I think they're made out of stainless or titanium. You can't bend, you get them hot, you can't bend them, you can't break them, and they're very, 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 very sturdy. You can't go wrong with one of these, and I guarantee you, if you decide to venture into a little wood burning with your woodworking, I would highly, highly recommend one of these. Now, this other one has all these tips. Okay, all these decorative tips, but guess what? You can't use them because they're all made the same way, and they're all junk. The threads strip, the threads break, and you have to throw it away. So, that's our tips and tricks for today.
Always wait until the pyrographer is fully heated before starting.
Okay, so me and Mojave, Big Louie, and Uncle Howard would all like to say to you, thank you very, very, very much for stopping by Cheapy Joe's to come and see our video. Now, we would really, really appreciate it if 1, you subscribe, 2, put your notification bell on, okay, 3, like us, and tell your friends about us, okay? It helps us immensely, gives us motivation, and Mojave and me, I think it's so hot outside, we're gonna go have a glass of iced tea. So thank you for coming by.
Good job, Cheapy Joe. Thanks for following this DIY adventure, and get ready. The next episode is going to be unforgettable and completely crazy. Hey, don't you think Joe talks a lot? Blink if you agree.
We both have to put up with it. Except for you. It must be much worse. Because you have ears. Tough luck for you.
Hey, Mahav, while Joe counts his nails, I'll show you something.
What's that?
No idea, but it was hidden behind the table saw.
Louie, I don't think you should have touched that.
But yes, maybe it'll be in Joe's next video.
Oh, I hope that's not a part of me.
Cowboys and cowgirls, mission accomplished! A Native American decorated cow skull ready to impress your guests or scare the hell out of them. Thanks to Cheapy Joe for his genius ideas and to Big Louie for his help and his luminous messes. and to the skull for enduring Cheapy Joe's highly risky interventions. See you soon for another crazy DIY with even more dust and laughter.
Excuse me, can someone tell me why I have feathers in my ears?
It's to capture the good vibes, buddy.
Yeah, I think I'll mostly capture the dust with all this stuff hanging around.